Hello everyone, today we are taking a look at the action arcade shooter Armored Kitten, which was recently released on Steam. Even disregarding all the obvious cat jokes, Armored Kitten is a very silly game, and the plot is well just as silly. You're playing as a cat soldier on a mission to a colony on Mars. There you're asked to solve the local mutant problem with the help of an ever-expanding arsenal of giant guns. The game isn't shy with the fact that the story is only an excuse to have a cat slaughtering waves and waves of enemies. In fact, the story can be completely ignored, which is probably what it will be by most players. The only reason I paid attention to it was so I could have an intro for this very video. So yeah, let that statement be my review of the story, and let's get into the gameplay. Armored Kitten is a fast-paced action arcade twin-stick shooter. You have a gun, you have an objective, and you kill everything in your way to reach that objective. It might be to plant some bombs, defend the robot, to kill X amount of a certain enemy, or just to plain reach the end of the level. The gameplay is mission based, meaning that you complete a mission, get rewarded, and move on to the next mission. These missions take you across various locations on the ruined Mars colony. Depending on the location, you get to fight different enemies in increasing numbers. After each mission, you earn a reward. This reward is always in the form of currency. I'm not really sure they ever say what the currency is called, but it can be used to upgrade your character, earn new weapons, and increase the drop rate of items and currency. You can also buy new suits for your kitten, which gives you extra protection but slows you down. There's a lot of different weapons to choose from, and they get increasingly more ridiculous as you get further and further in the game. The overall game feel is pretty great, at least for the first hour or two. You find yourself headbanging to the soundtrack while losing yourself in the combat. If you're frustrated and need to blow off some steam after a long day, Armored Kitten is a great way to do so. There's something truly cathartic about having waves and waves of enemies bow down to the might of your Armored Kitten, especially when a random enemy drops a super weapon which can mercilessly mow down enemies like it ain't nobody's business. But as I said, the experience only lasts for a few hours, after which the game quickly becomes very stale. The basic gameplay of any title is what serves as a foundation to make a game fun. Unfortunately, Armored Kitten does not actually build anything on top of its foundation. After you finish the first two sets of missions, it quickly dawns on you that the game has nothing else to offer. You also start to realize that all the enemies you fought so far essentially were the same. They spawn and they run towards you in order to attack you. This describes all the enemy types in Armored Kitten. They may look different or be of a bigger size, but they all behave the same. They might as well be the same generic enemy for all the gameplay difference it makes. There are no bosses, no special enemies that require different tactics, just endless waves of brain-dead cannon fodder. Now this isn't necessarily a problem, as I said the overall game feel is great, and if you played the game in only short bursts, you probably wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, I would recommend it just for the few hours of enjoyment I got out of it. It's a fun, charming little game. It might be lacking in execution, but that does not mean it can't be entertaining. I could rip the game to shreds for not being a masterpiece that I could spend 16 hours straight playing. But at the same time, the game was only €3, and I have had less fun with games that I paid €60 for. So I won't spend my time here pointing out all the flaws of the game and tearing it a new anal cavity, but I will point out a few glaring flaws that I think need to be fixed. To start off this list of problems, I will talk about the main menu, which is clearly built for a 360 controller, something that does not really make much sense since most PC players do not have such a controller. Additionally, the game can be played just fine with a mouse and keyboard, so I don't understand this choice. It is luckily only a cosmetic choice, and there are no problems navigating the main menu without the controller. This should be fixed, however. It really makes the game look like a crappy Xbox port, something which it is most definitely not. Another thing is the options menu, which also has the same problem as the main menu, although that is not its biggest flaw. In the options menu, there are basically no settings to tweak. You can turn the music on and off, turn shake on and off, and switch the language. That is all. There are no volume sliders or graphic options to speak of, not even a resolution option. Now, it is a 2D game, so graphic settings aren't that important, but it's still unacceptable to have such a lacking options menu. This needs to be fixed. And no, the fact that you joke about the lack of options in the menu does not make it okay. Seriously, it just makes you look lazy. Besides these two menu problems, I would harken back to what I already said. Past the first few hours, the gameplay lacks variety and it quickly gets boring. This could be fixed by adding enemies with different abilities and behavior. The game would only be better for it, so I simply don't understand why this hasn't been added. Now there are many more minor flaws with the game, like how the translation is obviously not perfect, which makes sense since the person is not a native English speaker, so I won't smash them too much for that. That'd be pretty hypocritical. But the remaining flaws are too small to talk about, and I don't really think they impact the gameplay in a major way. Everything else actually works pretty smooth, and if these things were fixed, it would be a perfect game, at least for the asking price. So in conclusion, Armored Kitten is a silly little game. A silly little game which nevertheless has a soul. It has a large variety of weapons and power-ups, which gives the gameplay a fun and cathartic feeling. The amazing soundtrack only amplifies this. However, it stops being fun around the 2-hour mark. This is because of the lack of enemy and gameplay variety. It has to be said that the fun you have up until the 2-hour mark is well worth the asking price of €3. The game has potential to be amazing, but in its current state it is just okay. It will help you blow off steam for a while after a long day, but you won't be able to play it for hours and hours on end in your free time. I hope you enjoyed this review. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!